All right, before we get started, I made a mistake, and the Musical Monday, where I kind of was disappointed with the final opening of Fairy Tale, I saw several comments that made it seem like it was the next version of the opening. I didn't realize that it was actually just the last opening with like sort of a recap of everything. So I made a mistake. It happens. That was my fault. I literally saw it, hopped on it because I thought that it would be topical. Was kind of disappointed and discovered after recording the video that, well, and actually after posting the video as well, that wasn't quite the case. It was just a recap for the very last episode. I'm sorry. No need to call me an idiot in the comments. I saw you there, Mr. Mavis Dragneel. Yeah, I'm calling you out. I made a mistake. Shit happens. Sorry. Anyway, with that off my chest, we are to, well, episode 48 of Fairy Tale. Not the final episode, so we still get the regular opening. So let's get started. So after, obviously, a recap opening with the start of where we had Natsu disappear and all that stuff, we get right into the action with the sky cracking over where Urza and everybody else is camped out after the Christina. And, of course, Ichia and Anna sacrifice themselves. And the crack in the sky is, well, kind of... It's sort of Agnologia's physical form, the dragon, making its way out of the Rift in Time, but he's still technically in the Rift in Time. It's a weird... Like, he's got a physical form now and an ethereal time manipulator form. He basically feels like he's God at this point, and he is extremely powerful. He is potentially more powerful. Well, he's been more powerful than an immortal for a while. We knew that with what Zareth was saying. So I'm kind of confused where the major threat is coming from with him, but, I mean, after we see some destruction, we kind of know what the threat is, but if Natsu stood up to an immortal, what's to say that he's not going to be able to stand up to Agnologia? And now that he's out and he feels as though he's a god and he's going to destroy the world, we kind of, nobody ever dies in Fairy Tale. You can't tell me after this shot of the town basically exploding, you can't tell me that some people didn't die. I mean, I'm sure none of the main cast died, but that's a lot of people dead in like those 5 little fireballs. And he's just raining fire down on the earth. He's putting quite a doozy on everybody. He's hurting everyone. Like, it's just... His power, they kind of demonstrate his power in a very over-the-top and extremely aggressive way. And of course now with them stuck out in the ocean, they kind of are really sort of stuck. They're out in the middle of the ocean. They've got Agnologia right overhead, and he actually captures Wendy and takes her and all of the other Dragon Slayers into the Rift in Time. I'm not going to get too much into the Rift in Time right now. We're going to talk about that later in the video, but I'm fairly certain that currently we got a lot of, and I'm sure later we'll get even more of, the whole friendship saves and beats all and whatever. But yeah, so he captures Wendy and all the other Dragon Slayers in the Rift in Time. Urza doesn't really know what happened to her, though she has an idea, and she's going to swim back to shore because, well, at this point it's sort of the only option. We don't have the Christina anymore, they don't have anything, but we do have the 2 who sacrifice themselves on the Christina. Yay! How great is that? So apparently because there's like an imbalance now with the whole Rift in Time, he's trying to use, Agnologia is trying to use the Dragon Slayer's power to bring balance, and Anna and Ichia brought imbalance in the Rift in Time, so they got spit out or something. One of the coolest send-offs for such a joke character, and they just wrote it off and brought him back anyway. You know, Hiramashima, we're not kids. We can take a dead character or two. In fact, I could probably do an entire video about how each of the characters who potentially died in this season would have probably made for better character development in the long run, but that's a video for a later time. Anyway, so let me see if I can get this right. Natsu, Wendy, Loxus, Gajiel, Sting, Rogue, and Cobra. So all 7 Dragon Slayers on the year 777, on the 7th day of the 7th month. They all 7 show up within the Rift in Time, and 6 of them right now are sacrificial pillars, as Agnologia said, and Natsu is getting turned into one of them as well. Now, this episode does kind of jump back and forth a lot between the Rift in Time and what's going on in the real world, and so I'm kind of doing the same with this video, otherwise it's not really going to make sense in terms of context. So Natsu, of course, is getting turned into one of the pillars, and again, we'll get into the friendship solves all things now, I guess. So this episode has a lot of build up for things that would potentially be pretty cool in the next few episodes, but I really don't know how that's going to go. So essentially, what they've set up so far is that the main guild, the main group, actually, it's actually more than just their guild. We've got Lamius Scale. No, we don't have Lamius Scale. What are those bastards doing? They didn't even show up. No, we've got the Irashian Sace, Blue Pegasus, who I think they left out in the ocean. Oh yeah, Mess shows up and takes Urza back to Magnolia, though. I don't think he took anybody else. I think they're all still out there floating in the ocean. So yeah, we have some of Sabretooth, we have the Irashian Sace, we have Fairy Tail, and I guess Blue Pegasus just gets to float out in the ocean. And yay, a moment with Makarov being alive and whatever. Anyway, so Natsu's getting turned into one of the sacrificial pillars in time, and he, I guess, hears Lucy and Happy, or I don't remember if he said that he heard anything, but I know he breaks out. His fire happens, and he busts out of it, and Wendy busts out of it. Gagio breaks out. So does Cobra, Sting, Rogue. Everybody breaks out. And Wendy apparently heard Carla, Gagiel heard Levi, I guess Sting and Rogue heard Lecter and Frosch. I don't know. They didn't really say anything. Cobra, of course, plays it off as saying he can hear everything, but whatever. His Cobra waifu isn't around anymore. If she is, I haven't seen her in a while. Anyway, point is, they've all broken out, and now it's up to them and their power of friendship and being able to hear and communicate with, or not communicate, but basically take the encouragement of the people who are still in Magnolia and not stuck in the Rift in Time to fight Acnologia. And honestly, I love the fact that like Loxus's demeanor hasn't changed. In fact, like his moment of like, let's go hunt some dragons, like that for me was actually really cool. The character demeanors have not changed, and I love that, because while the story overall still has quite a few flaws, it's the characters within the story that I feel like really, they are consistently written. They consistently survive. That's actually a problem, not a good thing. But they're consistently written. They consistently survive things. But their tone, their mentality, their actions are all based on something that we, as the viewer, have become accustomed to over the course of how many years we've been watching Fairy Tail. So I appreciate that, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing the fight between them and Acnologia, because it is the series' big send-off, so hopefully that means that we will actually have quite a bit of action, quite a bit of good animation. I mean, they did so much with the fight between Guildarts and August, so I do really hope that we get to see some pretty epic animation with that. Because apart from August and Guildarts, I don't really think we've had any sort of like crazy animation since the Grand Magic games, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that's something to look forward to, and I am definitely looking forward to it. As for what's going on Earth, we basically just have the physical body of, like the physical form of Acnologia wreaking havoc across the... So far, they're like, the world's gonna end. He's wreaking havoc across the main kind of Magnolia area and the ocean. And that's basically it. Also, I like the fact that they like treated him making Wendy disappear like a magic trick. It's like, oh, look at my hand, it's empty. It's like, yeah, no kidding. You sent her to a time rift or whatever. So, on Earth, things are looking dire, and we're gonna have all of these different guilds, all three. And it's not the Irashian Sace, I just realized. I said Irashian Sace earlier. It's Crime Sorcière. Either way, them and all the other guilds are going to be fighting, and I'm actually curious to see, because now they have two Acnologias to fight, and both of them are like the power of a god, which I'm sure doesn't stand a chance against true friendship. Who knows? I'm sure that there will be some sort of high stakes, or seemingly high stakes, that actually won't mean anything, but that's just how the show goes. Overall, this was very much a setup episode, which I'm fine with, because we have had a massive payoff with the death / sort of, not redemption, but the death and sort of carry on to the afterlife that we got with Zeref and Mavis from last episode. We've got a lot of stuff to kind of look forward to in these last few episodes. I'm still planning 100% on getting a Fairy Tail tattoo, because while the stories are very abruptly kind of cut off in certain ways and very inconsistent in some ways, like the characters have been consistent, the everything about the show is consistent, but the problem is some of those consistencies make it bad. Not the whole show, but mainly the stories, and that's kind of where my problem arises with Fairy Tail and what kind of makes me upset with this last season. But overall, I think that the way that this whole thing has gone so far, it's not out of the norm for this series. It's also not very, surprising. And I'm kind of upset that there's no big surprise or shocker, but on the same hand, I've kind of just become complacent with it. I still love the show. I still think that if they can stick the landing with some of the other character moments and some of the payoffs and the end, as long as the end has something that is sort of either leads off to a potential sequel or gives us something to be satisfied with by the end. Don't spoil anything, please, but if that is the case, I think I'll be pretty happy. Either way, guys, again, this was a lead-up episode to what will potentially be a pretty good fight next episode, or maybe a couple episodes down the road. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review. It's a bit of a shorter review just because of the fact that there really wasn't much to talk about. Setup episodes tend not to have a lot to talk about. It's just a lot of, filler to get you to what's going to happen next episode and just filling in some blanks. Either way, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I'll leave a link down below where you can legally watch this on Funimation if you're here in the US. If you're not here in the US, please find another legal means of watching this show. I try to make sure that I support the official release. Even if Funimation is kind of they're the only means of getting the anime here. So for me, supporting the official release legally is pretty much a no-brainer and a must for me. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think. Again, everybody makes mistakes. Sorry about the Musical Monday fiasco, but otherwise I'll see you all in the next episode. Make sure to be there and have a good one.